Hello. So I was given the task of deconstructing the poem Facing It. So first, the poem is deconstructed through binaries, and binaries are just a pair of related terms or concepts that are opposite in meaning. And one of the binaries is always considered to be privileged, or one that's better than the other, one that you would rather be out of the two. So the first one is dead versus living, and in this particular instance, the privilege is actually dead, even though mostly you think it'd be living, but in this poem, it's dead. The living man has feelings of sadness and grief in this poem, while the dead man does not have to feel the sadness. So I just have some few little quotes from the poem to prove my point. I go down the 58,022 names, half expecting to find my own in letters like smoke. I touch the name Andrew Johnson. I see the booby traps, white flash. So in this, the vet that survived still kind of feels half dead because of the experience, even though they ended up surviving it. He expects to see his name. He feels like the war almost killed him or like killed his spirit. And the name Andrew Johnson that's in there is actually a man from the author's hometown, and he died in the war, and the man who survived has to relive his death. And through the contextual clues, it kind of tells you that the man actually had to watch him die and was there for his death. The next one is a white vet's image floats closer to me. Then his pale eyes look through mine. I'm a window. He's lost his right arm inside the stone. So in this, the vet who survived has to live with the sadness of remembering the war. And he sees the names, and the names almost appear as ghosts, and he can see these people, and he remembers these people, and he has to just see them. They're dead, and he survived, but he still lives with the pain of it. The next binary is veteran versus not a veteran, and in this instance, not being a veteran is privileged over being a veteran. The veteran is forced to hold the pain from the war while looking at the memorial, while the non-veteran is able just to look at the memorial and move on moments later. So in this, it says, I'm inside the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. And when he's there, he's brought back to being in the war. He's actually feels like he's in it because he was actually in the war, while others would not have that reaction. Next is names shimmer on a woman's blouse, but when she walks away, the names stay on the wall. The names stick with him forever because he knew these men and he knew what all these men who died went through, but others just get to walk away and forget it, but the sadness sticks with him forever. Next is in the black mirror, a woman's trying to erase names. No, she's brushing a boy's hair. So he feels as though everyone will feel this strongly about the war and the memorial as he does, and he just wanted it to be over so much, and he hates reliving it and is almost shocked that the woman is doing such a usual and mundane thing at something that means so much to him. And he almost realizes oh, it doesn't mean as much to others as it means to me. And it just holds so much more weight for him. He respects it and he wants to respect it, and someone's doing something as usual as brushing her son's hair at something that means so much to him that he actually had to live through. Next is man versus woman. And in this poem, being a woman is privileged over being a man, which isn't the case most times, but in this it is, because women were not able to fight in the Vietnam War. Therefore, they'll never feel the emotional pain that the men who actually had to live through the war went through. Here's some quotes from the poem. They're the same ones as the vet versus non-vet, but they kind of hold, it just is different because he purposely used women in those examples instead of using men. So names shimmer on a woman's blouse, but when she walks away, the names stay on the wall. So in this, the author used a woman here on purpose because they weren't able to fight in the war. And as I said before, they don't stick with her as much because he was actually in it. And next is in the black mirror, a woman's trying to erase names. No, she's brushing a boy's hair. Again, a woman is used because the war will never hold as much weight for her, mean as much to her as it did for the men who actually were in it. Next is black versus white. So in this, being white is privileged over being black. So during the Vietnam War, racism and segregation were still very prevalent. The war lasted for, when I looked it up, it said about 20 years, but in the middle was when the civil rights movement and everything went on. So it was still very racist, and everything was still very much segregated. And the black men fighting in the war were thought of as less and were also treated as less. And being a white soldier would have led to better treatment than being a black soldier. So here's some quotes. "My black face fades, hiding inside the black granite." So he just fades into the memorial just like he did into the war as a black man. And he points out here that he is black. He lets us know that he's black, so we get this binary out of him being black and the other soldiers being white. Next is a white vet's image floats closer to me, and then his pale eyes look through mine. I'm a window. So in this, the white vet looks through him and refuses to see him. And he's just looked past, and he's not seen as equal, even though he's the one that survived. And this white vet is obviously just like a figment of his imagination that died in the war. But still, because he was a black man, because he had to live through all this, he still feels like he's less than this man, even though this man has died in the war. But even in his mind, he's looked past by the white man. I just wanted to also bring up some injustices that black people faced, just to further this point. Black individuals were much more likely to be drafted than white individuals. And even though they made up 11% of those in service, only 5% of those 11% were made officers or were able to rise in the war. And also members of the KKK were in service and were parade around the bases, which obviously was very hateful and scary for the black members. And they're more likely to undergo harsher punishments than the white men in the military. So thank you for watching me deconstruct the poem Facing It.